Hello and welcome to Freewave TV. I'm Paige Friedman, bringing you the latest in maritime news from around the world. Today in maritime news, Northern Germany ports brace for workers' strikes. Rail and trucker strikes in the mist as congestion worsens at U.S. ports. Chinese ports experiencing congestion again. A shipping carrier announces an expansion plan. A newly released report estimates a large number of 20-foot equivalent units exist. A lawsuit is filed in the U.S. over a 2020 port explosion. Panama Canal approves amended toll structure. In Germany, container and cargo operations at North Sea ports are preparing for a third strike within a few weeks, as workers are set to cease working. The Union of Workers is continuing to fight for a 14% increase in wages, as well as an annual bonus to compensate for inflation. The strike is set to begin on Thursday, and it will go on until Saturday, making it the longest strike in 40 years. Meanwhile, in the United States, its ports are getting congested again as the threat of rail and trucker strikes looms. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce wrote to President Joe Biden asking him to help resolve the ongoing labor negotiations between the railroads and rail unions and establish a presidential emergency board. If the PEB is not made by July 18th, the railroads and unions could stop working, which would worsen the port congestion and further complicate supply chains that are already strained. Once again, China's ports are starting to face congestion as the country is dealing with some local lockdowns and bad weather. In Shanghai and Guangzhou, mass testing has been taking place. Wugong, which houses one of the country's largest steel mills, went into lockdown Tuesday after one case was found in the city. Operations in Ningbo, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong have also been impacted, as typhoons have affected Chinese vessels, making it so that less vessels are berthing. South Korean flagship carrier HMM has come up with an $11.45 billion expansion plan. The 4-year plan will grow HMM's box ship fleet from today's 820,000 slots to 1.2 million, and it will nearly double its bulk fleet from 29 vessels to 55. The expansion will also include terminals and logistics facilities. Drewry's Container Census and Leasing Annual Review and Forecast 2022-2023 report recently came out, and it estimates that there are about 6 million 20-foot equivalent units existing in the global equipment pool. Even though this is a large number historically, Drury believes that the shipping industry will be able to manage. The report also found that the global pool of shipping containers increased by 13% to almost 50 million 20-foot equivalent units in 2021, which was 3 times prior growth trend. In 2020, an explosion at the port of Beirut killed over 200 people, injured 7,000, left about 300,000 others homeless, and caused billions of dollars worth of damage. Now, on July 11th, Swiss foundation Accountability Now filed a $250 million lawsuit in Texas against U.S. Norwegian Geophysical Services Group, TGS. According to Availability Now, Spectrum GEO, which is owned by TGS, chartered the vessel that delivered 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate to the city. The material wasn't properly stored at the port, which resulted in the explosion. According to a lawyer for Accountability Now, the lawsuit is going to help the victims who are feeling hopeless over the situation. Tolls in the Panama Canal are changing. Following the approval of an amended toll structure, the number of tariffs will be reduced from 430 to fewer than 60. Meanwhile, ship owners will have a bigger bill for using the canal. The tariffs will gradually go into effect from January 2023 to January 2025. And now, here's the news making headlines around the world. On Thursday, in the Ukrainian city of Vinnytsia, a long way from the front lines, Russian officials fired missiles, wounding dozens and killing at least 12 people, including a child. The strike highlights how far from peace the two countries are, coming a day after successful talks between the two countries to unblock Ukraine's grain exports. Today, after Iran met just last week with Russia's Vladimir Putin, U.S. President Joe Biden and Prime Minister of Israel Yair Lapid signed a joint agreement agreeing to the denial of Iran obtaining nuclear weapons. This demonstrates the allies' unity after years of disagreements over how to approach Tehran diplomatically. Washington's statement reaffirms U.S. support for Israel's regional military edge and ability to defend itself by itself. The world leaders expressed their eagerness to achieve levels of stable diplomacy. On the monetary side of things, after a discouraging inflation report amplified a rapid rise of inflation, the U.S. Federal Reserve has been actively stepping up its game with its battle against high inflation via a supersized 100 basis points rate hike. According to a CME Group study of the futures, the success of the business depends on the Fed's policy rate, believing that they already have. Prices are now being adjusted in a chance of a full percentage point increase at the upcoming meeting of around 80%. Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic told reporters everything is in play, although he said he still needed to study the nuts and bolts of the report. Today's numbers suggest that the trajectory is not moving in a positive way, and how much they need to adapt is really the next question. Breaking headlines and hearts around the world is a case U.S. President Joe Biden is highlighting to amplify the wrongness of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. The state of Ohio has charged Gershon Fuentes with raping a 10-year-old girl who had to cross state lines for an abortion after her home state restricted the procedure. The child was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant. After getting referred to an Indiana doctor by an Ohio child abuse doctor, the unnamed girl underwent a procedure on June 30th. Fuentes was denied bail and, if convicted, faces life in prison. In a world loaded up with atrocities, inflation, and a pandemic, after being sworn into office on the main island of Luzon, Philippines Mayor Aristela Aguirre is now implementing a smile policy this month. The mayor claims the new policy comes in response to complaints about the unfriendliness from the Mulao Town Hall staff, saying that when people arrive and ask for assistance, they're dismayed at the attitude of people they transact with. The mayor says the policy must be followed while serving the people to give it sincerity by showing a feeling of calmness and friendly atmosphere. From New Zealand to Japan, a new wave of coronavirus, the BA.4/5 Omicron infection, is rapidly spreading, prompting an advisory instructing citizens to take measures in order to halt the spread and avoid healthcare systems from being overwhelmed. New Zealand has 765 cases in the hospital, causing increases in wait times and surgery cancellations. Meanwhile, Japan surged to levels not seen since earlier this year. The newest strain comes alongside an economic downfall, further affecting the country's economies. For the third time this summer, Shanghai issued its highest alert for extreme heat as temperatures repeatedly tested records this week. The city, which is home to 25 million people, went into red alert on Thursday, warning of expected temperatures of at least 40 degrees Celsius over the next 24 hours. On Tuesday, several wildfires broke out through Portugal and Spain due to strong winds and sweltering heat. More than half the country is on red alert as temperatures rise over 40 degrees Celsius. The flames forced the evacuation of hundreds of locals as firefighters continue to struggle when putting out flames. Portugal's Civil Protection Authority said 300 people were evacuated from several villages. In the nearby municipality of Leiria, some houses burned down. Locals have complained there were not enough firefighters and resources to combat the fires. According to Civil Protection, around 1,700 firefighters, backed by 501 vehicles, were tackling 14 active blazes across the country. As the military patrolled Colombo to impose a curfew, the ousted president of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, flew into Singapore on Thursday after escaping major demonstrations over his nation's economic collapse. Singapore's foreign ministry said Rajapaksa had entered the country on a private visit and had not sought or been granted asylum. Inside the president's residence early Thursday, ordinary Sri Lankans wandered the halls, taking in the building's extensive art collection, luxury cars, and swimming pool. However, the usual protest sites seemed to simmer after the fleeing as organizers handed back the residences of both the president and prime minister. As Sri Lanka calms, the Republic of Gambia's former spy chief and 4 other ex-intelligence officials have received the death sentence over the murder of an opponent of ex-President Yahya Jammeh. The case is a rare instance of criminal accountability for Jammeh-era crimes. Although Gambia has had a moratorium on the death penalty since 2018, the sentences handed down by the High Court will be converted to life imprisonment. 5 people were killed by elephants in a surprise attack on farmers harvesting their crops in the Macomia district in northern Cabo Delgado province. The victims include 2 children. Those who managed to escape the violence returned to the site, finding the crushed bodies of family members. Police spokesperson Mario Adolfo told Lusa News Agency this is a situation of conflict between humans and wildlife, before adding that the victims were not in a protected area. The airline SAS said on Thursday in Stockholm that the ongoing pilot strike has reached its 11th day, meaning the airline may be forced to drastically downsize or possibly collapse if it can't obtain bridging funding. Mediator John Schlong said talks between SAS and pilot unions on Thursday were due to run until 2000 GMT at the latest, adding that we really hope that we will reach an agreement today. These are constructive talks. A previously unknown self-portrait of Vincent van Gogh was discovered, hidden under cardboard and layers of glue. Experts at the National Galleries of Scotland made the find when the canvas was x-rayed before an exhibition. The hidden self-portrait was found on the back of an earlier work-called head of a peasant woman. The Dutch artist often reused canvases to save money, turning them over and then working on the other side. The gallery's senior conservator said she felt shocked to find the artist looking out at her. We're now going to take it over to Jean-Louis, who's going to share what's going on in the sports world.
While the weather heats up worldwide, as does our sports news. Again, I'm Jean-Louis, and from the States to across the pond, here are your sports stories from all over the globe. We start off in the world of cricket, where we got a loaded day on tap. Of course, day 4 of the LV County Championship has commenced with results already had. In Division 1, Hampshire took down Warwickshire, winning by 8 wickets. They got a big-time performance in the second inning, getting 16.5 overs in that span. For the other games, we're still holding out for the result. Now, at the time of the recording, Kent and Northamptonshire are in battle, as Kent is 340 runs away from victory, as are Somerset, as they trail Lancashire by 89 runs with 6 wickets remaining. Now in Division 2, games are still up for grabs, with Durham 300 runs to victory over Derbyshire and Sussex trailing Leicestershire by 129 runs with 10 wickets left. Now in the ICC World Cup qualifiers, Hong Kong bested New Guinea by 2, Netherlands beat Uganda by 97 runs, and more on tap. Now in the one-day international series, England and India are currently in action as well. England is 81 for 2 with 33 overs left. For results on all the games listed and unlisted, stay tuned to Freewave. As we speak, we also have stage 12 of the Tour de France taking place. Now in light of Emirates' COVID woes, Thomas Pidcock and Chris Fanholm attacked across a leading break as they are currently 7 minutes in, with Pidcock looking to be the first Olympic mountain bike champ to win a Tour stage. Right on, fellas. Right on. Cameron Young stars on day 1 of the British Open, as his performance spearheaded the 32nd world-ranked star to first on the leaderboard. Rory McIlroy, who drew a big audience for his first go-round, comes in second with a -5 through a total of 14. Later on today, we have Tiger Woods scheduled to make an appearance, as fans and peers alike wonder what's left in the tank for the multi-time world champ. With the MLS season in full swing, the sport of football is picking up steam. However, on the Women's Euro Championship is the big-time news, and it's here to stay. Later on today, we have Italy taking on Iceland at 5 local time, followed by France taking on Belgium at 8. Off the field, women's football has unceremoniously been shunned, as Canada Soccer's latest move may have made matters even worse. Canada Soccer President Steve Reed signed a contract with Canada Soccer Business that restricts incentivized finances from athletes. In layman's terms, they can't get paid for the World Cup bid. U.S. soccer star Alex Morgan spoke out against Canadian soccer after a reveal, indicating that players deserve better. Now, in the contract given to the local news syndicate TSN, the deal could potentially extend all the way up until 2037. It's big time news for Canada soccer. Now, from one Olympic story to the next, Mo Farah is in the news as after a reveal that he was a victim of child trafficking, the UK government has put in an investigation for the 39-year-old. He chronicled his story of being brought to Britain at the age of 9, changing his name in fake travel documents before flying, and being forced to do homework in exchange for food, as well as being restricted from school until the age of 12. The gold medalist is unfortunately in this news as he's regarded as the most successful British track athlete in modern history. The vaccine mandate strikes once again, and this time it's in baseball. 10 players of the Kansas City Royals, including star Andrew Benintendi, will miss the Toronto Blue Jays series. Along with Benintendi will be starting pitchers Brad Keller and Brandy Singer, who are each key components in the upcoming series. They'll be placed on the restricted list, resulting in a loss of salary. And lastly, we turn to basketball, where speculation is king in the offseason. Despite the beginning of free agency between the NHL and the NBA, the news release of Utah star Donovan Mitchell being placed on trade block has spearheaded the National Basketball Association back to the forefront. The All-Star has been linked to his hometown team, the New York Knicks franchise, having close ties to the city. Shout out to another orange and blue squad with the Mets. According to the ESPN contributor Brian Windhorst, a team also in the running are the Miami Heat, who may necessitate an additional third team to make it happen. The summer is hot, and so is free agency. But till then, that's all the news I got for you today. Once again, this is Jean-Louis, and this is Freeway. Stay tuned to the news, folks.
That's all we have for today. For more detailed news, you can visit our website, www.freewavetv.com. On behalf of all of us here at Freewave TV, thanks for watching, and we'll see you our next newscast.